You're watching the Sports and Political channel of LB. If you're not a subscriber to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share these videos on your social media platforms. And before we get into the video, this is a promotional announcement. For the first time in over a year, I have posted content on the Patreon. I have a renewed focus on the Patreon, and you're going to get content that you won't get on here on my Patreon. It's only $5 a month to subscribe to my Patreon. That's why I get really raw. I get really uncut. I don't have to worry about getting age restricted or getting a strike over on the Patreon. I can actually let freedom reign. So that is why I have decided to revamp the Patreon, and I've decided to relaunch it. I already have content on my thoughts about the Larry Nassar situation. And for only $5 a month, you will get access to content that I will not put on here. So, real easy. Sports Political Channel LB on the Patreon. So, go there, subscribe to it, and support what we're trying to do over there. Now, as far as over here, we're going to talk about Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma, the official numbers have been released as far as his contract, and it is a very team-friendly deal to where only $90 million is guaranteed. So he signed that deal. Initially, we thought it was going to be like around $100 million. Well, it's actually only $90 million. So it's very team friendly. This way, it will provide an avenue for the Wizards to trade Kyle Kuzma should that opportunity arise itself. Now, look, I'm going to read an article coming from The Athletic. And in that, I'm going to provide my thoughts on this situation in DC. So, according to Sham Sharani and Josh Robbins of The Athletic, Kyle Kuzma's new contract to remain with the Wizards is more team friendly than originally thought. The deal, which is now official, is worth a total of $90 million over 4 years, plus $6 million in unlikely incentive bonuses tied to team performance. So I figure that these team performances include a playoff trip, a conference finals appearance, or an NBA finals appearance. I think that's where that $6 million incentives comes from when it comes to team performance. Maybe baked into that also, if the Wizards win 50 games, something that they have not done since since 1979. That was the last time the Washington Wizards won 50 games. Outside the other aforementioned things I explained just now, conference finals appearance, NBA finals appearance, winning an NBA championship. So that where I believe is where the $6 million incentives is baked into that contract for Kyle Kuzma. The contract does not include a player option or a team option, and it includes a 15% trade kicker. So his guaranteed salaries over the 4 years, and his money actually descends, which means the team can then trade Kyle Kuzma and not have to be in a burden doing so. So the contract, which starts next season, $25.6 million. 2024-25 season, $23.5 million. The year after that, the 25-26 season, $21.5 million. And in the final year of the contract, which is 26-27, only $19.4 million. That is a steal. The agreement between Kuzma and the Wizards, which was originally reported by ESPN on June 30th, was to be worth a total of $102 million over 4 years. The 27-year-old will begin his contract as a centerpiece on a rebuilding Wizards team, along with newly acquired guards Jordan Poole and Tyus Jones. Washington, operating under a new basketball executive group headed by Monumental basketball president Michael Winger and new Wizards general manager Will Dawkins, traded both Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis in separate moves in late June. When the Wizards did not trade Kuzma before last season's trade deadline, executives from rival teams assumed Washington and Kuzma had an understanding that the franchise would resign him in unrestricted free agency. But when the Wizards fired Tommy Shepard back in April and was replaced with Winger and Dawkins, it raised the question whether or not Kuzma would remain in DC. Even I had my doubts that Kuzma was going to remain in DC because before Tommy Shepard got fired, the idea was, and I reported this on my brother Ticket channel a while back when we did the live stream, the vision was to keep Kuzma, Beal, and Porzingis, and that was going to be the big three that the Wizards were going to build around. That was the idea. Now, all that went completely out the window when Tommy Shepard got fired after 235-47 campaigns and having losing seasons in 4 out of the last 5 years. With the one playoff appearance that the Wizards did partake in, only resulted in one playoff win and a first-round exit against the Philadelphia 76ers. So when Tommy Shepard got fired, Bradley Beal got traded, Porzingis got traded in that 3-team deal, which sent Marcus Smart to the Grizzlies, which sent Porzingis to the Boston Celtics. And the Wizards end up getting Mike Muscala and some picks and Danilo Gallinari. And a lot of the DC faithful were scratching their head as to what in the hell are the Wizards doing. So when those guys got traded, there was a big question whether or not Kuzma was going to stay. Hell, I had questions of Kuzma was going to stay. There was word going around saying that he might sign with the Kings. Because the Wizards didn't get anybody in return for Kuzma. I mean, not for Kuzma, for Porzingis. And then when they traded Bradley Beal, they had an agent Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and some picks. Second-round picks at that. And then Chris Paul ends up getting traded to the Golden State Warriors for Jordan Poole. Which we knew Chris Paul wasn't never going to play with the Wizards anyway. But Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma now makes for a team that the Wizards can build around. But as the team is constructed right now, as of July 10th, 2023, the Washington Wizards are not good enough to compete in the Eastern Conference. They're not. They're just not good enough. You need more. They re-signed Daniel Gafford to a 3-year, $40 million deal. But there's holes in Daniel Gafford's game that will get exploited when he goes up against premier centers like Jokic and Embiid and players like that. He needs to develop an outside shot, not necessarily from the three, not necessarily from there, but something in the mid-range. Because what you don't need to have Daniel Gafford doing is clogging up driving lanes for guys like Denny Avila, who's going to take on an expanded role now that Bradley Beal and Porzingis is gone. So it'll be interesting to see how he operates at the 4, because that's where he's going to be projected to start at. Now, Kuzma has enjoyed his time in Washington. He was a role player in the final 2 years with the Lakers, and he has emerged as a focal point under Wes Unseld Jr., averaging a career highs of 21.2 points and 3.7 assists last season. Now, in the move so far, Winger and Dawkins took Beal's burdensome long-term contract of the Wizards. He took that off the books because remember, in that deal, Bradley Beal had a true no-trade clause. And he still has that on the Phoenix Suns. So wherever team he goes, he's going to have that true no-trade clause for the duration of that contract. But as I alluded to on a series of videos, I talked about how Bradley Beal ended up on the Phoenix Suns. And in case you missed that, I will explain this one more time. Mark Bartelstein is the agent to Bradley Beal. His son, Josh Bartelstein, is the CEO of the Phoenix Suns. Did you see why that trade went down the way it did? So, if you want to know that's how Bradley Beal ended up on the Phoenix Suns, that's how. Now, while Kuzma's new deal is indeed a long-term contract, it is a team-friendly one. Much more team-friendly than the 5-year, $125 million deal that John Collins signed in 2021 to remain with the Atlanta Hawks. Kuzma's descending salaries over the life of the contract will offer Washington more flexibility to add additional players, and the descending salary should also make him easier to trade down the road if that's what the team wants. What's up, Ted Cox, my big brother, or my little brother, Courtney Washington? What's good with y'all? Salute. Anybody that's watching this video, I appreciate you tuning in also. Anybody that's going to watch this video later on, I appreciate you as well. So Michael Winger, who's the president of the Washington Wizards, along with the Mystics and the Capital City Go-Go, pretty much he's the president of Monumental Sports. And Will Dawkins envisioned the Wizards being competitive in the season ahead. Retaining Kuzma should help that effort while also helping rookie Bilal Coulibaly to develop. Now, I don't know anything about Bilal Coulibaly. I might have to get with somebody to get his profile because I don't know anything about this guy. What's up, Alex Heron? Hey, do me a favor, Alex. Hey, give me you know about these guys or whatever like that. Somebody, give me some dirt on this Bilal Coulibaly guy. I know nothing about him. So basically, from what I gathered about him, though, they drafted this guy to be a long-term project. So basically, he's going to start the year on the bench, and he's going to have to learn on the go, and then eventually he'll become a starter. That's from what I got in the tea leaves. But as far as like his profile, what can he do, what can he not do, his strengths and weaknesses type of deal, I don't know anything about this guy. But from what I got from the like I said, reading the tea leaves, he's gonna have to be their long-term project. Now, from Kuzma's perspective, the contract remains a windfall and a validation of potential. Getting more money up front should be seen as a positive. Now, the thing is with a team like the Washington Wizards, you're not going to have any kind of, attractive free agents coming there. So it is incumbent upon the front office to hit a home run in the draft. Not only in the draft, but in free agency as well. If you don't have attractive free agents that don't want to come to a market like DC. So y'all saying he is it is Koulibaly. He's from France. And he's played with Victor. So he's teammates with Victor Wembanyama. Okay. Ted Cox said he's a three-point specialist that can pass. Okay. Can he shoot the three efficiently, though? Is he an efficient three-point shooter? Because right now, the Wizards can need some of that. Now, looking at the roster construction, right? And looking at, the projected starting five with Tyus Jones, Kyle Kuzma, Jordan Poole, Denny Avia, and Daniel Gafford. Right off the bat, this team is undersized. Right off the bat, this team is undersized, and that's going to get exploited on the defensive end. Which means they're going to have to find a way for Gafford to not get in foul trouble, and for Daniel Gafford to be a better defensive rebounder. Now, one thing about Daniel Gafford, he averaged a block for every season's career. His 2.2 blocks per 36 minutes, ranked 12th in the entire league. But the one thing about these Wizards teams over the years, they have been horrific, and I do mean horrific, in the paint. As far as like defense in the paint, they're horrific. When I played FanDuel in fantasy basketball last year, there were two teams I always played centers against. Actually, there were three teams. No, I take that back. There were four teams I always played centers against. Four teams. The San Antonio Spurs, and Victor Wembanyama should be able to provide some rim protection in the paint with his length not necessarily his size, but his length. So if there was four teams that played centers against last year, it was always the Charlotte Hornets, the Detroit Pistons, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Washington Wizards. Because when you look into the advanced numbers, they were just horrific when it comes to the defense in the paint. So there's free agents out there, viable free agents out there. The Lakers are looking at signing Christian Wood, but you got a guy like Bismack Biyombo that's out there in free agency. Now, can he give you anything offensively? Absolutely not. But you're not bringing him in for offense. You're bringing him in for to be a defensive anchor and to rebound and to shot block. Those are the things Bismack Biyombo can do well. You're not asking him to score. But then again, you're going to need versatility on the offensive end. You're going to need versatility on the offensive end. Because Corey Kispert, look, man, I don't know what the Wizards would think about bringing that guy in. I have no faith in Corey Kispert at all. Corey Kispert, oh man, he's just not good to me. Now, could I be proven wrong next year? Could he take that next step next year? Yeah, because there's no Beal, there's no Porzingis. But then again, you do have Kuzma and you do have Jordan Poole, who's going to command a lion's share of the offense. Maybe Denny Avia can take on more of a burden on the offensive end. But Corey Kispert, he is so trash. I don't know what the Wizards were thinking selecting that guy as a lottery pick. He is so trash. Anyway, now as like I said in the beginning of the stream, if you were to ask me, is this roster good enough to contend for a playoff spot? And I will tell you that the answer is no. They're going to have to make a couple more moves. A couple more guys going to have to develop. I know they got Danilo Gallinari, but given his age and his injury history, can't put no faith in that. Can't put no faith in that. So they're going to have to make some moves, and they're going to have to upgrade their bench. They're going to have to upgrade their bench, and they need more versatility on the offensive end and on the defensive end. See, the Wizards need Bol Bol. I wouldn't mind Bol Bol. I like him. I like Bol Bol. He's actually Victor Wembanyama before Victor Wembanyama became a thing. So when you hear people in the mainstream media talk about, well, we've never seen a guy like Victor Wembanyama, I'm like, yes, we have. Did you not see Bol Bol? Manu Bol, son? He got skill set. Only problem is, teams ain't using him. When he was on Denver, he was riding away on the bench. All them veterans that they got on there, he's not getting no playing time in front of Jokic. And then on the Orlando Magic, he's been a victim of a logjam over there. Bol can play. He just need time on the court. But he's very skilled. And he gives you the versatility that Daniel Gafford won't give you. I know he played for the Bullets. Alex Heron, he played for the Bullets, and he played for the Golden State Warriors. But I remember Manu Bol on the Golden State Warriors, 7'7" guy that can shoot a three. First time in my life I've ever seen a guy that tall can shoot the three. So if I'm the Washington Wizards, and Bobo just dangling out there in free agency, why not bring him in? Why not bring in Bobo? That would be a great signing because I really do like Bobo. Hey, anybody on the Wizards that happen to be watching my video and you sign Bobo, you make sure you give me my credit. You make sure you give me my credit. You sign if you sign Bobo. Magic just release this guy for nothing. A player that talented, man, give me Bobo all day. I'll take him. He can play. What's up, Mark Wonderlick? Salute to my man, Mark Wonderlick in the building. But yeah, man, that's why I'm at on the Wizards, man. That's why I'm at on that. I'm gonna consistently look out for these deals. We still got 3 more months before the season begins, so they can't possibly be done. What's up, Black Mana? But they need to get more versatile on the defensive end, and they need to find more scoring outside of Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma. Maybe Tyus Jones. I know there was games when John Morant was out, either be injury or suspension, because John Morant like being that chitty chitty bang bang individual. Tyus Jones provided efficient scoring and efficient, and he can lead the offensive set in the half court. So the question is now is, can he do this for a sustained amount of time? We've seen he can do it in the small sample size where he was in because John Morant was either hurt or he was suspended, but can he sustain that for a long period of time throughout the course of an 82-game season? So those are the questions that I have. There's many more, but for the sake of this video, those are the burning questions I have when it comes to the state of the Washington Wizards. Who's going to produce offensively outside of Kuzma and Jordan Poole? How are they going to get better defensively based on because they're undersized? And the other question is, we hadn't talked about this yet, but I might talk about this in a future video. Is Wes Unseld Jr. on the hot seat? That's another question we need to ask. Is Wes Unseld Jr. on the hot seat? This will be his 3rd year. And on top of that, the Wizards front office just clean house. The owner, Ted Leonsis, says it's completely clean house. He brought in a president, brought in a GM, brought in a director of what do you call it? What's Travis Schlenk, the director of scouting? So the whole front office has been cleaned. The whole front office has been reimagined. It's been reorganized. So does this mean Wes Unseld Jr. will be on the hot seat this season? Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's 2 other coaches right now that's on the hot seat. Taylor Jenkins in Memphis. Who's that coach out in Minnesota? What's his name? What's that coach name in Minnesota? What the hell is that dude's name? Can't remember his name. Oh, what the hell is that guy's name? Chris Finch, that's his name. Chris Finch. So Taylor Jenkins in Minnesota, Taylor Jenkins in Memphis, Chris Finch in Minnesota. Those are the two other coaches that's definitely on the hot seat. For Taylor Jenkins, this is for Memphis not being able to get over the hump. Because 2 years ago, they went to the conference finals. Last year, they lost in the first round, and they had issues with team discipline and stuff like that because you had Dylan Brooks. While he's not here not dating Transformers, he was being the liability. He is now on the Houston Rockets on a 4-year, $80 million deal. So he basically was cast out to the shadow realm for nothing. And then you had team issues on the team with John Morant and his ability to go chitty chitty bang bang, right? And that team was talking a whole bunch of cash money stuff, saying that oh well, we ain't worried about nobody in the West, and yet they get put out in the first round by the Lakers, right? So Taylor Jenkins definitely on the hot seat. Now Chris Finch, on the other hand, Mark Lore and Alex Rodriguez have purchased the Minnesota Timberwolves. So Glenn Taylor will no longer be the owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota Timberwolves came into the league the same season as the Orlando Magic and the Miami Heat, which is 1989. Hold on. Yeah. Yeah. There actually were 4 teams that were expansion teams in 1989. The Miami Heat, the Orlando Magic, Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Charlotte Hornets. Those were the 4 teams that were expansion teams in 1989. Now, since the Minnesota Timberwolves became an expansion team in 1989, they have only played in 1 conference finals. 1, and that was back in 2004 when they went on to lose to the Lakers. 1. Now, have they been to the playoffs? Yes, they have been to the playoffs. They were in the playoffs this year, but they got bounced in the first round by the Denver Nuggets. Then last year, they were in the playoffs and got bounced in the first round by the Memphis Grizzlies. So Mark Lore and Alex Rodriguez is looking for Chris Finch to take that team to new heights. They started it by re-signing Anthony Edwards to that mega extension to the tune of $270 million or something like that. So you got Cat, you got Rudy Gobert. To a lesser degree, I think he sucks, but nevertheless, they got him. So to me, they're going to have to address the point guard situation, and they're going to have to address their defensive concept because Cat is not a good defender. Rudy Gobert is not a good on-ball defender, and he's slow on his feet. He's only good for rim protection and blocking shots and getting rebounds. That's it. As far as offensive game, he ain't got none. So they're going to have to figure that out. So you already got Chris Finch, you already got Taylor Jenkins, and on top of that, typically when a new regime comes in, they want to hire their own people. That's another thing I hadn't talked about when it comes to the Minnesota Timberwolves. When you bring in new people, you're going to have to convince that new ownership that you are worthy of not being replaced, right? So you got that. So you got that dynamic going on. Wes Unseld Jr. He's on the hot seat. Somebody mentioned the Orlando Magic coach. I think his name's Jamal Mosley. He's going to need to get better and quick. So that's where I'm at on all that. And let's see what else. Anything else? Any other? Jason, you say Jason Kidd on the hot seat? Nah, Jason Kidd not going nowhere. You say want to break down the Warriors? Probably close to the season beginning. But that team is easier to break down. The only thing they got is they got a new GM, but pretty much the cast is still the same. Steph, Clay, Draymond, they're still there. It's the same, pretty much the same cast of characters. And they got Chris Paul. So it'll be interesting to see how Chris Paul fits in with the Warriors. As far as like, are they going to use him on the court at the same time as Steph? You put Chris Paul at the 1 and move Steph to the 2, and then have Clay play the 3. We'll see. I'll talk about that in the future video. Oh yeah, Billy Donovan definitely on the hot seat. You can best believe Billy Donovan's on the hot seat. But then again, the Bulls front office ain't really done nothing for that team. You haven't done nothing for that team. But when I do my so this will be a stream I normally do before the season begins where I break down all 30 teams. It'll be one massive live stream. We're gonna break down all 30 teams. I might bring in like 2 Raw. I might bring in like, my LDBC brothers, you know what I'm saying? We'll break down all 30 teams and then we make our playoff and NBA final predictions. Shifting gears. Since we on the NBA. So the NBA laid out this thing to where they're going to do an in-season tournament. Now, I don't like the in-season tournament. I don't like it. There's really no incentive for players to be playing this in-season tournament. When I think of the NBA in-season tournament, I think of this more of like when the NBA tried to redesign the basketball. Y'all remember that year where the NBA tried to redesign the basketball and it was so grossly unpopular to the point they had to revert back to the old basketball? Y'all remember that? So that's the way I see this this in-season tournament. I mean, it took a while for me to even come around to this idea of a play-in tournament, but an in-season tournament, come on. Come on. It just, for what? I mean, you got a group play format, and then you got a knockout round format, and then and then all those games count as far as like your regular season record until you get to the semifinals, which is going to be played at a neutral site, which is going to be in Vegas. And then, but those games don't count for your regular season record. And there's really no incentive for these guys to play in an in-season tournament. Who cares about it? It's not like that the winner of this in-season tournament is going to get an automatic spot in the playoffs. Now, for me, if I was doing some stupid crap like that, that would be one of the incentives. That would be one of the incentives. If you win the in-season tournament, you get an automatic bid to the NBA playoffs. That's what I would do. I mean, sure, you're going to have to play the season out, and sure, you're going to have to win your games, but you will get an automatic bid, but your seeding will be based upon your record. So if you're one of those 50-win teams or whatever like that, you get a top 4 seed. If you, and I'm just brainstorming this in real time as we speak. I know that I'm going to get some people that disagrees with it, whatever. I'm just brainstorming this in real time. Just because you get an automatic bid to the playoffs doesn't mean you tank the season. Well, I'm going to play these other games, fuck it. And then on top of that, if you're going to do an in-season tournament, you don't do it at the beginning of the season. I would do it towards the end of the season. That way, you can eliminate the play-in game. You can eliminate the play-in game and replace it with that in-season tournament. Maybe instead of using all 30 teams for the in-season tournament, you do it with the teams who don't have a good record. So all those teams, that's from 7 to 15, you put them in the in-season tournament. And the winner of that gets the automatic bid to the playoffs. If I were some dude that worked for the NBA, that's the way I would do it. But the way this is laid out right now is no incentive for anybody. The fans are not amused by it. Who you gonna talk to that likes this in-season format? I don't like it. I'm pretty sure when I talk to my homeboy 2 Raw about it, he ain't gonna like it. I'm pretty sure when I talk to my other homies in the LDBC, right? Shouts out to the Lions Day basketball community. None of them gonna like it. This was a horrific idea. Nobody wants to be an in-season tournament champ. Like, when we decide, or when we talk about who's a Hall of Famer and who's one of the greatest players of all time, one of the questions that will not come up is, hey man, you see that guy that was in that in-season tournament, man? He was a beast in that in-season tournament. Like he did not no other time, but in that in-season tournament, man, that man was a beast. Nobody's saying that about no future Hall of Famer. We're not saying that about them. Can you imagine me talking to one of my homeboys on here, maybe Gideon or whatever like that, but hey Gideon, hey, when James Harden going to the Hall of Fame, right? Man, James Harden was a beast in that in-season tournament. Now you can't count on him no other time. You definitely can't count on him in the NBA playoffs, despite the fact he has 85 wins in the playoffs. But you can't count on James Harden in the playoffs. But in that in-season tournament, James Harden's a beast. James Harden out there cooking everybody in that in-season tournament. Nobody's going to be saying that. To me, this in-season tournament shtick or this concept that they're doing is going to be short-lived, like that basketball they tried to roll out one year. They tried to roll out that composite basketball that had a different feeling that all the players hated, and they ended up resorting back to the traditional basketball later on in the season. So what does the in-season tournament does? It does absolutely nothing, T Sweezy. It does nothing. It does nothing for the players. It does nothing for the fans that's going to be looking at it. It is a nothing burger. So I hope that answers your question. It's a nothing burger. But that's my thoughts on the matter. I thank everybody for tuning in. If you're not subscribing to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share these videos on your social media platforms. Last but definitely not least, shouts out to the mighty Lions Den basketball community. This your man. Scream at me. Oh!